If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to MINDSHOCK True Crime. You're listening to the Delphi case series. This is episode 49, The Ring. And we will be examining allegations and possible evidence, as well as inside sources and leaks, regarding a possible ring. I mean, this has long been discussed that Richard Allen, if guilty, did not act alone. Or if it's not Richard Allen at all, that there's another ring and the true guilty parties are part of some kind of criminal ring. Of course, this episode, like many others, is not for the Dunning-Kruger crowd or coincidence theorists, which for whatever reason are highly attracted to this podcast, infesting the comment sections with their goofery. But again, without them, the MINDSHOCK podcast would not exist. So we are, of course, grateful for all the Dunning-Kruger goofs out there. As always, if you find the MINDSHOCK podcast interesting and informative, you can donate to our PayPal, help support the MINDSHOCK podcast, help spread logic and reason to a world where it is quickly becoming extinct. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube for access to exclusive streams and chats. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications. If you're not getting notifications, it has to do with the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you like more videos. Make sure you engage in the comments more. Comment a whole bunch of times, and then you should be getting the notifications. That appears to be how the YouTube algorithm works, at least nowadays. And you could also share on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcast requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind. Leave them in the comment section. So, of course, many think that the Richard Allen arrest was some kind of a ploy for him to name more names. Some believe it's connected to Keegan Kline and his father, Tony Kline, and possibly Travis Trexler, which may have started this whole ball rolling and all of these developments in the past 6 months or so. With Travis Trexler's arrest, if you haven't listened to the podcast episodes on Trexler, check those out. We go into the coincidental timeline of his arrest and the seemingly lack of media regarding his arrest. But after the Trexler's arrest, all of a sudden, Kline is getting taken out of prison and taken to Rivers to point out possible evidence. And then a few months later, after this extensive search on the river, all of a sudden, Richard Allen is arrested. What's going on here? What's going on? So there's an interesting article in dailymail.co.uk. A lot of people find this site kind of dubious, but their track record is actually pretty solid, especially compared to, let's say, New York Times or some of these other mainstream news outlets, which are highly inaccurate and wrong about a lot of things about a lot of the time. So let's take a look at this article here. This is December 14th, 2022. Exclusive. Murdered Delphi teens were intended victims of a botched child sex kidnap plot, cops believe, as investigators dig up dead cat to match hairs found on girls to alleged killer's pet. Now, I will go over something that I've been talking about this on many, many different podcasts. For whatever reason, the Dunning-Kruger crowd, coincidence theorists, bootlickers, and authority-worshipping cultists, for whatever reason, they can't comprehend that in reality, things do not always go as planned. Criminals are not perfect. Criminal operations can be botched or mistakes made, plans abandoned midway. This isn't rocket science, but for whatever reason, a lot of goofs just can't comprehend this, especially in the JonBenet Ramsey case, the Maura Murray case. It's as if they think criminals either executed a plan perfectly or there was no plan. A lot of these goofs just can't comprehend the concept that things go wrong, or even when things don't go wrong, there's a psychological component where a criminal might bail on a plot midway. Even if technically nothing went wrong, they either got scared or for whatever reason, again, a lot of times these are not mentally well individuals that are committing these kinds of crimes, obviously. So if they get something in their head, mood swing, whatever, possible drug use, they might abandon a plan midway and change it. It's not rocket science. I've mentioned this in many podcasts, but again, this is just another concept that for whatever reason, many people don't get. This article is by Laura Collins, chief investigative reporter for the Daily Mail. So the main bullet points here: Richard Allen was allegedly part of a child sex ring that planned to kidnap and rape Liberty German 14 and Abigail Williams 13 in 2017. Allen has ties to pedophile Keegan Kline, who was previously named as a suspect. Both have also been linked to Ron Logan. The girls were found on his property. Sources say police dug up Allen's cat to match hairs found on the girls' bodies. And I know, again, people just write off Ron Logan. It's obviously, it's verifiable that the FBI was very interested in Ron Logan. Now, whether or not Logan was involved or not, that's a separate issue. But it's clear that the FBI were very interested in Logan. Now, there's rumors of some kind of pig roast, cemetery parties right next to his property. Again, these are all just rumors. Who knows what their veracity is, but of course, a certain percent of the time, rumors turn out to be true. A lot of the coincidence theorists and the Dunning-Kruger crowd, they obviously ignore that possibility. But yeah, so Logan, again, there's also unverified details. Has it been 100% confirmed that his phone actually did ping in that bridge area at the time the girls were allegedly there? I mean, we don't know that either. But if that's true, the people that say Ron Logan is completely innocent and doesn't know anything, how would that explain it? Now, if it is Logan on the bridge, if he is pissed off that they're on the bridge or he thinks they're trespassing on his property, whatever the case may be, there was supposedly another neighbor. I don't think this was Ron Logan. I actually don't know. But it was just reported that one of the neighbors in that area had yelled at Libby German before for trespassing. I went over that in a previous episode. Now, if that wasn't Ron Logan, or if it was somebody else and they told Ron Logan about it and he was pissed that people were just on that bridge because it's super dangerous, or there is that hangout spot under the bridge with beer bottles and other things. So supposedly that's some kind of hangout spot. Does Ron Logan resent that hangout spot? Was he pissed at them, or was he just trying to protect them? Who knows? But is it possible he actually did order them away, and then someone else was there who scared off Ron Logan himself, and Ron Logan possibly involved in other shady dealings or crimes, or simply not wanting to involve himself in any kind of trouble and not wanting to go to the police, was simply scared off and never talked about it? And he wasn't the one responsible for harming them, but he may have initiated some kind of a contact. But let's continue with the article here. Murdered Delphi teenagers Liberty German Abigail Williams were victims of a botched kidnapping plot hatched by members of a local pedophile ring. This is just one of a host of disturbing new details and allegations that can be exclusively revealed by DailyMail.com, including gruesome details about how the girls died and that the police dug up the prime suspect's dead cat in an effort to match hairs found on their bodies. Now, again, for the goofs out there, for those who are bereft of logic and reason and even basic children's level comprehension, this is MINDSHOCK. I do not claim anything is true or untrue. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but triggered goofs are going off the rails in almost every podcast series on MINDSHOCK because they're so deficient in basic English. They do not understand the following. I do not claim anything is true or untrue. I do not claim anyone is guilty or innocent. This is MINDSHOCK, where the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. Again, I'm probably going to have to say that 50 million more times, and the goofs out there are probably still not going to understand, but whatever. Let's carry on here. The revelations come just 2 weeks after authorities released a redacted version of the probable cause affidavit that led to Richard Allen's arrest. And we went over that in the previous episode. Make sure you're up to date on that if you're continuing here. Allen, 50, was charged on 2 counts of murder October 28th, 5 years after 14-year-old Libby and 13-year-old Abby were found dead in Delphi, Indiana on February 13th, 2017. DailyMail.com has learned that shortly after his arrest, one of Allen's neighbors recalled seeing police digging in his yard. Now, DailyMail.com has been told that they were digging up the family's dead cat, whose hair proved a match for the samples found on one of the victims. Here's the thing, though, too. If I've gone over all the issues with the search before, the thermal imaging drone not finding the bodies, searchers searching both sides of the river, supposedly the exact area where they were eventually found, and then people turning away searchers from that area afterwards. So was there some kind of staging, et cetera, et cetera? But if Richard Allen was among the searchers and he did move the body, of course, there's reports that the bodies were originally in the water. and that they were dragged out onto the shore by searchers. So if Allen was involved in that, even if his cat hair is there, does that prove, I mean, beyond a reasonable doubt, obviously that is highly suspicious and definitely suggests involvement of some kind, but is that enough to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he himself alone murdered them? I'm not sure that it is. It really does not seem to be enough. But let's continue here for some mind-shocking revelations. Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McClellan has openly stated that he believes Allen is not the only actor involved in this. Quote, Allen is not the only actor involved in this. I mean, this is a weird thing with so-called true crime aficionados or true crime followers. It's like they get instantly triggered when it's suggested that someone didn't act alone. It's a really weird thing. You would think that people actually care about justice for the victims and they would want to get everybody responsible and not hallucinate and pretend it's definitely only one guilty party. It's a weird thing. It happens in a lot of cases. I mean, just, again, coincidence theorist ideology of bootlickers and authority-worshipping cultists. They turn that logic switch off and they no longer care about truth and justice. So this quote is actually attributed in many different places. November 22nd, New York Post, Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen may not have acted alone. Quote, we believe Richard Allen is not the only actor involved in this, Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McClellan said during a court hearing. People.com also reiterated that. So this has been reported. Daily Mail, again, vindicated, verified quotes here for the people who hate the Daily Mail for whatever reason. And while Allen has not been charged with kidnapping, prosecutors have alleged he attempted it. Now, sources, well, here's the thing, though. Attempted kidnapping is also a crime, but apparently he's not charged with that. Now, sources close to the investigation have claimed that Allen was acting with at least 2 other men and was involved in a child sex ring. So this is sources close to the investigation. So what are the options here? Daily Mail got this wrong, or they are the sources and they are claiming that, but they might be wrong as well. So this doesn't mean it's true just because it can be verified that sources are claiming. So, of course, it doesn't mean it's not true either. So the claim here, not 1, but 2 other men, and of course, theoretically, possibly more, but here claiming 2 other men. So 3 parties minimum, according to these law enforcement sources or sources close to law enforcement. Last month, DailyMail.com revealed pedophile Keegan Klein, 28 of Peru, Indiana, who is currently awaiting trial on a slew of child pornography charges, was cooperating with state police and prosecutors in a bid to reduce his own charges. And of course, there's a lot of goofs out there pretending that the reduction in charges had nothing to do with his cooperation. Sources told DailyMail.com, quote, the girls met Keegan Klein online, and he arranged to meet them that day, but didn't go. Instead, he set them up to be kidnapped for the porn ring, end quote. I mean, that is quite a bold charge there. So these sources are claiming that Keegan Klein actually set up the meet, but then either all part of an original plan or a change of plans, arranged, gave them up for other parties to kidnap them. Huh. During one of several police interviews reviewed by DailyMail.com, Klein admitted to soliciting underage girls for nude pictures by catfishing them, posing as teenage girl Emily Ann or hunky actor model Anthony Schatz. Wait, what? So he posed as a teenage girl to get other girls to send nude pic? What? How does that work? He thinks, I mean, is that a thing that girls just request nudes from other girls in some kind of non-sexualized thing? Is that like a thing? I don't know. This is kind of weird. The Anthony Schatz account, of course, is known about, but this Emily Ann account, you don't hear a lot of people talking about that. I believe it was mentioned before, but that's kind of weird. That's like Klein's go-to, is to pose as a teenage girl. And apparently other girls don't have a problem with sending nude photos to other teenage girls. This is kind of a weird thing. I don't know. Okay. It was as Schatz that he communicated with German. Chillingly, Schatz was one of the last people to communicate with the girls before they took their fateful walk on Delphi's Monon High Bridge Trail. One of, so who are the others? Police interrogating Klein told him they did not believe he committed the murders, but was protecting the identity of whoever did. Now the source has revealed that Klein has cut a deal with prosecutors. That's in quotations. Cut a deal with prosecutors, end quote. The search warrants on Allen's home and property were carried out based on Keegan's testimony, the source told DailyMail.com exclusively. Okay, so this source is explicitly stating that Keegan Klein was directly responsible. His testimony is what facilitated the search warrants on Richard Allen's home. So directly related, because there's a lot of people claiming that these are all completely unrelated and Klein has nothing to do with any of it and is all a red herring. I mean, that would be awfully convenient and coincidental if it was a red herring. Indiana State Police, Carroll County spokesman Sergeant Jeremy Pierce would neither confirm nor deny any of the details when put to him by DailyMail.com. He said, quote, law enforcement has not released any of those details or anything beyond what is in the probable cause, end quote. The source's claims that Klein, from whose devices police retrieved a slew of child pornography, knows Allen, and that the men met when both lived in Peru, roughly 40 miles northwest of Delphi. And of course, Jordan Sofer, another girl missing, found dead, who happens to look at the combination of Libby and Abby. I went over that in previous episodes. Check that out. Just another coincidence. And this is when Richard Allen also lived in the area with the Kleins, also in the area. Is this all mere coincidence? Some believe that Sofer's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, or that guy that gave her a ride, he was responsible. There was a suicide. Allegedly, there was a suicide note. But again, that is uncorroborated, unsubstantiated, unverified. It was posted on Facebook. So, or the claim about it. I don't know if they posted the actual suicide note. They posted the claim about the suicide note. So the Sofer case, also just really weird. Not a lot of media. And even if the boyfriend possibly was involved, was it a similar situation where possibly Allen and Tony Klein or other individuals, they maybe approached or knew the boyfriend somehow and got him to participate in some kind of a kidnap and then to have Sofer enter this ring as well. The source claims that both men knew Ron Logan, who police first pegged as a suspect in the killings after the girls' bodies were found in his property some 1,400 feet from his home. An FBI search warrant served on Logan's home and property dated March 17, 2017 revealed that on February 14th, the day after the killings, Logan asked a relative to provide him with a false alibi. He told a cousin to say that a friend had picked him up and taken him to a fish store between 2 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. and that he didn't return home until 5:30 p.m. And of course, what does his phone prove? Okay. Continuing on here, the last time the girls were known to be alive was 2:13 p.m. when German made a brief cell phone recording of the now infamous bridge guy approaching with the words, "Guys down the hill." Logan's alibi was shown to be a lie, and text messages retrieved from his phone showed that he was out of the house and in the vicinity of the murders on the evening of February 13th. The FBI document also noted Logan asked his relative to lie for him the following morning before the crimes were even discovered. I mean, that's one of the most damning pieces of evidence there. I talked about that on the Logan podcast because this was before the bodies were discovered. So if they were missing and presumably to be found either partying somewhere or if they were lost and died of natural causes elsewhere, for whatever reason, he's desperate for an alibi before any bodies are found. That's something I really couldn't get around. All the other issues you could say are circumstantial, et cetera, write them off, but that's a damning one. That one's tough to get around. Logan died at the age of 84 on January 24th, 2022, and was never named as a suspect. But now, sources have told DailyMail.com that Logan, who had a history of violence against women, was involved. According to the source, investigators believe that the plan had been for Allen to kidnap the girls and bring them to Logan's home where he and allegedly Klein would rape them. They said, well, it doesn't say whether it's Keegan or Tony here, huh? That's interesting. They said the girls were supposed to be kidnapped. This is a quote here. The girls were supposed to be kidnapped for the sex ring, but something went wrong, and he knifed and raped one and almost decapitated the other. Logan and Klein never met the girls, end quote. Now, of course, I think the police did state there was no sexual assault of any kind, but again, are they intentionally misstating that? A lot of gullible goofs out there, they think law enforcement can never be mistaken or would never make false statements for any reason ever, so they just take on blind faith whatever law enforcement releases, hallucinating that there's no fallibility, that there's no corruption, and there's nothing of any kind other than pure gospel coming from law enforcement. I mean, bootlickers are a weird bunch that way. Police have been tight-lipped about the girl's cause of death, saying only that there was a lot of blood at the scene. Now, DailyMail.com has been told that the murder weapon was a knife and that both girls bled out. Speaking well ahead of the probable cause affidavit's release, the source revealed that the girls were killed near the river. Information since confirmed, but then moved and posed naked under a tree. The FBI search warrant served on Ron Logan's home also included law enforcement's belief that the killer may have taken souvenirs. Okay, so let's, before we go to the rest of the article, I mean, there's a lot of mind-shocking revelations, allegations, and theories presented here, but just quickly on Ron Logan, I do want to bring this up. In the first couple of episodes, and the episodes on Ron Logan, I explicitly floated this theory that there's a few different perpetrators, and they either turned on each other, something happened, because if they panicked, and then now they want to frame Ron Logan, who was possibly involved or to be involved. So they were trying to frame Logan. That's why they dumped it on his property, even if he was involved. Because the main point against Logan, if he was involved either by himself or as some kind of primary actor with some kind of authority over others, why would he have the bodies put on his own property? That doesn't make any sense. Yet someone trying to frame him, and then other people are saying if there's trying to frame him, then he wouldn't be involved. This is, of course, a false dichotomy logical fallacy. On MINDSHOCK, we don't fall for these silly logical fallacies. Because if Rogan was part of a circle that was involved, and they turned on him and wanted to point the finger at him and wanted everybody to think that he was solely involved, then they would do that, wouldn't they? Even if he really was involved. This was one of the McGuire theories I did float. You can go back to the earlier episodes and listen to them. Is that what happened here? Because what other possible explanation could there be to account for all of the variables here? Now, maybe there are others. I'm not claiming that there's not another explanation. I'm not even claiming any of this is true because, again, this is MINDSHOCK. I do not claim anything is true or untrue. The only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. Anybody who wasn't there doesn't know how it went down or who exactly was involved, no matter how hard they hallucinate and pretend, which for whatever reason on social media people love to do. So regarding Ron Logan's possible involvement, it doesn't necessarily mean he wasn't involved, because if they turn on each other, I mean, these kinds of criminals, they're not necessarily trustworthy or honorable. I don't think anybody would argue that. So why would all these Dunning-Kruger groups hallucinate that it's impossible for criminals to turn on each other and possibly point the blame at one of the involved parties, even if he really was involved? Now, there's, of course, strange issues with Garrett Kurtz. And supposedly he viewed Ron Logan as an uncle. He also claimed that there's ex-girlfriend who actually saw a video, a snuff film of these murders. I mean, there's a lot of strange oddities revolving around Kurtz and Ashley Garth. They just can't be written off. It's possible that these criminals do know each other and know of the crimes, even if they weren't directly involved. That, of course, is a possibility. Just bringing that out there because not a lot of people are talking about Kurtz and Garth anymore. But it's possible that they do know some of these parties involved. So let's continue on here with the Daily Mail article. DailyMail.com has been told that underwear and a cell phone were taken from the scene. A cell phone? Huh. The newly released probable cause affidavit also reveals that one of the girls could be heard saying the word gun. and this was, of course, long rumored. According to the source, the killer was wearing a gun on his waistband. Police discovered a Sig Sauer model P226 as well as knives from Allen's home. Allen's wife, Kathy, 50, confirmed that the weapons were his. Forensic testing of an unspent round found near the girl's bodies showed that it had been cycled through Allen's gun. Okay, just a quick point on that. Supposedly, there's a lot of dispute over how accurate that is. Like, the people doing the test are just eyeing it and saying that it resembles the chamber. Again, I haven't seen any conclusive studies where they took the same model gun from the same year and were able to differentiate which gun they were cycled through. So, yeah, I mean, I'd probably have to do a dedicated episode on that to do a deep dive into how all that's done. But apparently, there is a lot of dispute regarding the validity and accuracy of these tests. According to the probable cause affidavit, even though the bullet had never been fired, it bore telltale and unique signs of having been an Allen's weapon. Now, is it an Allen's weapon or that specific model gun of that year, which, of course, other people could also have? The affidavit states between October 14, 2022 and October 19, 2022, the Indiana State Police Laboratory performed an analysis on Allen's Sig Sauer model P226. The laboratory performed a physical examination and classification of the firearm, function test, barrel, and overall length measurement, test firing, ammunition component characterization, microscopic comparison, and NIBIN, National Integrated Ballistic Information Network. The laboratory determined the unspent round located within 2 feet of victim 2's body had been cycled through Richard M. Allen's Sig Sauer model P226. Now again, so this is not on the body, so this is within 2 feet of the body. So that's a tough one too, because can they determine when the bullet ended up there? Because let's say they were just shooting for fun or hunting, whatever they were doing, or not even shooting, just cycling. If Allen knows Logan and they were there, let's say, a week before and the bullet was left there, because if it's not placed on top of the body, I mean, can they really say that it was there, that it wasn't there before? I mean, that's, I mean, again, if they have further evidence, I mean, was it in blood? Was there something that gave away that it was there after or during the murders or body movement as opposed to like a week or 2 or a year before? Again, nobody's really addressed that. Allen could not explain how a bullet that had been cycled through his gun could have ended up there. He denied ever having been on the property or having lent his gun to anybody. Now, here's another point, too. Like, anybody who's been around Allen or in his house or had access or been around Allen with the gun, if they cycled the bullet and then took it and then placed it at the scene, I mean, again, if this is some kind of a botched plot and the string pullers of this plot want Logan to go down and then that didn't work, now they maybe want Allen to go down. Now, let's say they are guilty and part of the ring, but the people at the top of the ring want these guys to go down. Theoretically, they could so-called frame guys that actually are guilty of some level of complicity. I don't hear anybody talking about that. This is MINDSHOCK, of course. We're going to go over every angle. That's the first thing that jumps out at me. That that Logan and Allen might actually be complicit in the plot and guilty to some extent, or to a full extent. But there's other people involved that want only them to go down, which, of course, true justice would not be served if that is true, because all the people responsible in every single way should be held accountable. Allen has strenuously denied any involvement in the killings, although he admitted to police that he was on the trail that day that the girls went missing. That's interesting phrasing. Did he deny involvement in being part of any ring? According to the probable cause affidavit, several youngsters saw him there ahead of the murders. His lawyers say he's simply the wrong guy. They have dismissed the probable cause affidavit as flimsy and described the forensics relating to the unspent bullet as junk science. Allen is also someone who his lawyers have asserted in newly filed motion stands no chance of a fair hearing should his trial be conducted in Carroll County, Indiana. They argue that the likelihood of a tainted jury pool should it be drawn from the girls and Allen's home county is excessive. They state that the best way to ensure a fair trial is to move it at least 150 miles from Carroll County. The judge has yet to rule on the motion. A bond hearing for Allen, who is currently being held without bond, has been set for February 17th, and he is set to go to trial March 20th, 2023. A lot of people also kind of point to the coincidental nature that there just happened to be a witness seeing him muddy and bloody walking on the road. Now, if this account is true, I mean, there's a lot of problems here. If something went wrong, did he really kill them at the time alleged, or were they held somewhere overnight? There's, of course, what was it, the 2 a.m. screams reported. Nobody wants to talk about those in that general area. So did they actually make it to Logan's? I mean, supposedly if they had the warrant on Logan's, you would think they would have. I mean, maybe they did find further info and they just haven't, that's not released yet. So of course, until the trial, when everything comes out, if there even is a trial, I mean, we'll see what happens with in the meantime. If more information comes out, I mean, it could possibly check all the boxes, dot the I's, cross the T's, and make this all make sense. Because as of yet, there are many, many unknown variables here. A lot of people hallucinating and assuming. So we really don't know without the further information. But if there was some kind of botch job double cross, Keegan Kline supposedly mentioned to a cellmate or somebody that he was supposed to be waiting in the car. Did he get spooked, run off, and now Alan has no ride? Like, it really doesn't make sense why he would park at that old CPS building or whatever, walk that distance. I mean, there's a lot that doesn't make sense. But if this was part of a larger plan with missing variables that we don't know about, and there was a quick getaway, was there some kind of backup plan where if the girls didn't show, or even if they did show, or whatever went down, Alan, the alibi always was, oh yeah, I'm going to be out walking the trails if people saw him. So that was kind of like the backup. And then whether or not the crime occurs or not, there's possibly a quicker getaway vehicle or something to take him back to the other vehicle. Again, there's so much unknown. Then of course, there's the shady business regarding the Marathon gas station, which Keegan Kline is searching on his phone, and then the FBI supposedly can't recover footage from the hard drive. I mean, does anybody believe that? That Quantico in the 2010s, early 2020s, doesn't have the technology to recover footage from a gas station security camera? Does anybody believe that? I mean, come on. It's just, that's kind of weird to me. That's weird to me. So are they intentionally botching this investigation because there's FBI involvement? There's investigator suicides, there's so many issues with this case that nobody wants to talk about. A mountain of coincidences and stacks of coincidences on top of coincidences. There's so much here that doesn't make any sense. And making sense of everything, there's really no theory that accounts for everything as of yet. Unless, pretty much the ring theory with possible upper agency involvement, that might be the only thing that accounts for it. Because if there is some upper agency involvement, FBI agents, whatever, obviously they didn't really want to move on that Olympic trainer guy, whatever, and that whole scandal that's been known about for years. And of course, if you've listened to the Johnny Gosch series exposing the Franklin scandal, going all the way to the White House with all of that shady business, alleged Bush involvement with child trafficking and all of this insanity. If this is going on in Delphi, coincidentally, some of the agents were also involved in the in that Olympic scandal. So all coincidental probably. But if it's not coincidental, and there's an intentional cover-up and they possibly wanted this unsolved, or possibly to just throw it all on Logan and maybe Richard Allen, or maybe the plan was originally Logan, particularly if he died, but then there's some agents, of course, not in on it, so they're still doing honest, hard investigation, and they're not buying it, so this thing there's backup plans being enacted, et cetera, et cetera. So could that theory account for everything? I don't know. There's still yet more strangeness with Cody Patty being one of the neighbors of Richard Allen, allegedly. Again, we've gone over that in previous episodes. There's just so many things that don't make sense. It's really hard to make heads or tails of any of this. Now, of course, a lot of coincidence theorists, authority-worshipping cultists, they'll never entertain those theories despite all the mountains of evidence in other cases of where this has actually happened. But they'll hallucinate and pretend it can't actually happen in this case, which is the same thing that was done in the other cases before it all came out. So the track record of coincidence theorists and authority-worshipping cultists, not very good. So I'm going to go over one more article here. This is fox59.com. where there's another interesting nugget here. This is December 1st, 2022. Defense and law enforcement spar over Delphi murders investigation. This is by Russ McQuaid. An excerpt from this article here. The recent focus on Allen's alleged involvement in the killings happened just as prosecutors and investigators were turning up the heat on Keegan Kline, a Peru man they suspect of communicating with Libby on social media app the night before her death. Kline has been incarcerated awaiting trial in Miami County since the summer of 2020, but it was only this past summer that his attorney, which the acquiescence of the prosecutor, convinced the judge to delay the trial as both sides were involved in negotiations. Within days, Indiana State Police divers were searching the Wabash River, where a source indicates several guns and knives were discovered, but none of them linked to the Delphi case. And then, of course, they don't mention here, this is also coincides with Trexler's arrest. Quote, "This all comes back to Peru," end quote. A source told Fox 59 News as the Miami County city is not only the hometown of Kline, but just 10 miles south of Mexico, Indiana, where Richard Allen lived most of his life. So this source here, talking to Fox, is saying it all comes back to Peru. That doesn't sound like Kline's not involved. Because why are they saying it all comes back to Peru when Richard Allen is in Delphi? And Richard Allen was just arrested. Why are they constantly saying it all goes back to Peru? And again, they're saying here, Keegan Kline, negotiations, etc. The timing of all of this. How coincidental is all of the timing here? Okay, I'm going to go over one more thing from Keegan Kline's transcript, where he states here during this police interview, in the middle of the interview, he states, okay, someone shoots someone and then they're with the person that happens a lot and they get charged for it. And they say that they killed them. That doesn't mean that they killed him. Police respond, yeah, that's why we asked you initially, is there anyone else that had access to your phones? Okay, so Keegan Kline is bringing this up of his own volition. He's saying, as if this is a mere hypothetical. Maybe it is, but it's curious that he chose this hypothetical. Someone shoots someone and then they're with the person. That happens a lot and they get charged for it. And then they're with the person, so they're not with the person at the moment of the killing, but they're with the person after? Is that what he's saying? Like, what is his subconscious revealing here in this curious statement here by Keegan Kline? What does everybody make of this? I'll leave everybody with that. Draw your own conclusions, thoughts, theories, any kind of comments at all, leave them in the comment section. As always, if you find the MindShock podcast interesting and informative, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Help support MindShock. Help us get more mind-shocking content out there with logic and reason in the forefront, keeping awareness up in cold cases, recent cases, wrongful convictions, any and all cases. Awareness is key. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube for access to exclusive streams and chats. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the like for notifications. If you're not getting the notifications, just like and comment more, or comment a whole lot more. That's how the YouTube algorithm works. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcast requests. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.